When Dr. Octopus, one of Peter's oldest and deadliest foes, makes his grand reappearance in New York City during one of the darkest days in the webhead's history, will this spell the end for our hero? Well, let's hop into the pages of Amazing Spider-Man issue number 27 and find out together, shall we? Alrighty then, so we suffered through Dark Web, we suffered through whatever the hell the last arc is, maybe, just maybe, whatever the writers and editors of Spider-Man needed to get out of their system, they did it, and we can get back to business as usual. And I will say, this issue actually got off to a pretty damn promising start as Spider-Man and Black Cat are together out fighting crime and taking on Herman Schultz the Shocker. Yeah, that feels like pretty classic Spider-Man, doesn't it? I actually recognize this for a change. And then things sadly take a hard right turn off a cliff. You see, the only reason Spider-Man and Black Cat are out fighting Shocker right now is because Felicia Hardy had actually leaked a heist tip to Shocker, knowing that he'd be too greedy to not take it up, so that her and Spider-Man could go out there, beat him up, and Spider-Man could get his mind off the death of Miss Marvel and the disillusion of his relationship to Mary Jane. Felicia, I know you're trying to help and everything, and seriously, I don't know why you're helping Peter so hard when they're treating you as such a rebound girl, but this is like straight up the definition of superhero entrapment. I mean, I know it's Shocker and no one gives a shit about him, but still, this just feels so weird. Shocker also drops the word kill, which causes Peter to go a little nuts, as he loudly vows that there will be no more death, there will be no more killing. Oh yeah, he's doing great, everybody. Now, what's actually a little bit more compelling is that as hard as Peter is taking it, Norman Osborn, who is again still acting as Peter and Black Cat's man in the chair right now, is actively taking Kamala Khan's death harder. The way he sees it, Miss Marvel was only at the fight that got her killed because she didn't trust that Norman had mended his ways and that he was still up to doing evil Green Goblin business. Though, I mean, if we really want to split hairs, Norman wouldn't even have been in Jersey City, her neck of the woods, if Peter didn't make him go there, but I digress. Norman is really tearing himself up inside right now because despite all the good work he's done trying to redeem himself as the Gold Goblin, people around him keep dying, like Kafka, the Queen Goblin, and now Miss Marvel. Again, I don't know what it says about the current state of Spider-Man that the best, most interesting characterization in the juiciest drama comes not from Peter, but from a Norman trying to find redemption. Seriously, Gold Goblin should have gotten another volume. We once again check on in with Pete as he crashes at his crappy apartment. He vows that Kamala Khan's sacrifice will mean something and that he will continue to fight in her name. And guys, it's been a couple weeks. Have you, like, I don't know, bothered to tell her parents? Cause that feels pretty important. I get the feeling you've earmarked it for one of those special tie-in issues, but still, it's something that Peter really should do. It's, you know, the responsible thing to do. Also, as we can see here, Peter kept the dead Miss Marvel's mask and falls asleep next to it. I know they're trying to make a point about how sad he is and how distraught he is over her death, but this whole thing comes off weirdly creepy. Shouldn't he again have given it to her parents, or I don't know, Miles and the Champions, the people who actually knew her for longer than like 15 minutes? As we discover too, Spider-Man's not sleeping alone, as he's actually being watched over by, get this, Dr. Octopus's now sentient tentacles. You'll recall that this was a storyline all the way back in like issue 900, which I know feels like a million years ago, but well, it's back now, but also so is Dr. Octopus. He tracks down his wayward tentacles and brings them back to his base of operations for diagnostics. This exchange between Otto and his tentacles is actually pretty damn great because they reference Otto's original origin story about how he tried to crack the atom, a fact of which very rarely gets brought up anymore. Otto is naturally concerned that his tentacles seem to A, have a mind of their own now, but also B, seem to be caring about the fate of Peter Parker. How could that be, right? The tentacles are supposed to be connected via neural link into Ock's own mind, unless that was that Ock secretly somewhere in the back of his own mind cared about Spider-Man? Or, let's face it, more than likely the tentacles are calling upon old memories from Ock's time inhabiting Peter's body as the superior Spider-Man, and oh hey, that book's actually coming back soon. Doc Ock vows if his tentacles won't get in line, he'll simply destroy them and replace them with brand new, better tentacles. But wait, the tentacles have a mind of themselves. They don't want to be destroyed, and as such, they end up mounting an escape, but more on that in a minute. From there, we actually transition on over to Peter coming to meet Norman the next day at work. Peter is obviously very worried about Norman and fears that everything that has happened with him might end up pushing him over the edge and forcing him to relapse into supervillainy. And you know what? I'm gonna come out and say it. I really like this exchange. In fact, I think I kind of love this exchange because this is the first time in, God, months and months where Peter hasn't seemed like a self-centered douche nozzle. Peter actually cares about this dude and his well-being and is taking time out to make sure he's okay. Wow, that's acting like an adult. That's acting with, I don't know, responsibility or something. Norman thanks Peter for caring about him so deeply and vows that he has nothing to worry about, as his sins, along with the Green Goblin, died when Goblin Queen was killed. Again, if you didn't read Gold Goblin, A, you really should, but B, Norman ended up being forced to kill Queen Goblin to save Peter's own life. Only, oh wait, this is a comic book and Norman is going to live to regret those words, because as we discover, Kafka's body was actually taken to Ravencroft Asylum, where the doctors there opted not to cremate her, instead keeping the body around to try and understand the strange magical and scientific method which gave life to the Queen Goblin. And oh boy, I guess we're playing by slasher movie rules, cause everyone knows you don't leave the killer's body around or it's just gonna get up and walk away again, which is exactly what happens here. Oops. And hey, speaking of getting up and walking away, you'll remember that I said Ock's tentacles decided to run from him. Well, where did they run to? Not to Spider-Man, but actually to J. Jonah Jameson, the same man that it kidnapped all the way back in issue number 900. And as the comic comes to a close, we see these mechanical arms do a very sad version of puppy dog eyes. And so that was Amazing Spider-Man issue number 27, everybody, and overall I'm kind of conflicted on this one. On one hand, there was actually more going on in this issue I liked than I've liked in Spider-Man for, months now. Norman Osborn's mission to try and find some form of redemption for his lifetime of supervillainy continues to be a fascinating story across several different books, which I was not expecting. It's also kind of nice to see them pick up on a storyline that I think most people had forgotten about from Amazing Spider-Man number 900, bring Doc Ock back and give him a motivation that is actually completely independent from Spider-Man for a change, which you don't really see much anymore. My big problem though, and this is a problem I've been having for a long time now, and it's not even a Zeb Wells problem, is that Peter Parker, Spider-Man, the star of the book, forever seems to be the least interesting, least compelling part of Amazing Spider-Man issue to issue. But hey, you know what? Credit where credit is due, he actually didn't totally act like a full-on whistling dickhead for 22 pages in this issue, so I guess, you know what? Improvement. In fact, a lot of this issue actually felt like this series when it began under Wells, before Dark Web, before the last big story arc, which gives me the distinct feeling that maybe editorial is appeased now and maybe won't be cracking the whip, or at least that hard, for a while. It's still not a great issue, but it's 100 times better than what we've been getting, and hey, you know what? There's a couple times there where it actually felt like I was reading a Spider-Man comic for a change, so for all those reasons and more, I actually give this one a 6.5 out of 10. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest, that's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.